from Prague on the Late Show tonight. The secrets of the Black Lake, how Czechoslovakia's Department of Disinformation fooled the world's media. Good evening. In 1964, the Czech Secret Service pulled off one of the most effective hoaxes in the annals of disinformation. They fooled the world's media with an elaborate scheme of planting forged Nazi documents at the bottom of the Black Lake and the Devil's Lake on the borders of Czechoslovakia and West Germany. And they hoaxed the world so effectively that a Czech television documentary at the time won international awards. The real story only emerged after one of the Secret Service officers involved emigrated to the United States and explained how the press were fooled in order to hoodwink the West's intelligence services. The Late Show interviewed both the hoaxer and the hoaxed to reveal the real secrets of the legendary Operation Neptune.
I was the deputy commander of the Czechoslovak Disinformation Department. At that time, we were looking for an operation that could be a calling card of the new department. I have to say that nobody in the Czechoslovak television knew about the real purpose of this operation. Not only that, nobody in the Czechoslovak government knew anything about it. In the spring of 1964, the Czechoslovak television decided to make a documentary about the legends and secrets of two lakes on Czechoslovak West German borders, Devil's Lake and Black Lake, and hired a group of divers to do the research. I was one of them.
We went to Black Lake because we wanted to test whether or not the legend about the strange characteristics of its water was true. It was said that the water had some special properties, such as perfectly preserving the bodies of people who drowned there. We also wanted to try underwater filming for the first time.
Are you scared?
We aren't scared, but we're not going to take any risks. The lake is treacherous enough, even for ordinary swimmers. Well, come and have a look for yourself. Come and see what lurks down there.
It was my hobby, and only after coming back from this first visit to the lakes, when I talked to my colleagues at the office, we came to the conclusion that it was a unique opportunity to use this for disinformation purposes against West Germany.
In the depths of the lake, objects have been found which are causing a great deal of curiosity. This is the first of the boxes which has caused a sensation. At this time, our divers were only vaguely aware of the danger.
When the divers took out the boxes, we were immediately suspicious. We thought it was too big a chance to have found them after only 2 or 3 days diving. Our suspicions deepened when we chatted in the local pubs to some of the border guards. They told us about peculiar military activities taking place around the lakes before we'd arrived.
The Devil's Lake finally gave up its mystery. This was the last trap of the devil. The border guards are taking 160 pounds of explosives found in the chests to a safe military base. Their caution is fully justified. The danger of explosion is ever present.
The chests were actually empty, but they were incredibly well disguised. I can remember that we watched with binoculars from a distance, and the chests were covered with moss, weeds, mud. Even tiny details like that had been carefully worked out.
At the beginning of July this year, 4 military-looking chests were found in the Black Lake. They contained Nazi documents.
The hoax had two aims. Firstly, Bittman and his colleagues claimed to have found lists of wartime German sympathizers still living in Czechoslovakia. Armed with this threat, they hoped to stop the West German Secret Service from recruiting there. People who might have become German agents went to ground. Some even committed suicide. Secondly, by whipping up anti-Nazi hysteria so publicly, they hoped to persuade the Allies to continue with the prosecution of Nazi war criminals and indirectly drive a wedge between West Germany and the rest of Europe. The plan was a sensational success.
I was extremely pleased because many of my journalist colleagues came from all around Czechoslovakia and said, Branislav has had another lucky strike. Yet again, he's run straight into a sensational scoop. They were quite simply envious. And of course, I was as pleased as Punch.
It became kind of a joke inside the intelligence service that we contributed to the journalistic success of the Czechoslovak television. But obviously, at that time, the disinformation department succeeded in creating a first-class sensation to manipulate not only the public in West Germany, in Western Europe and around the world, but also to manipulate successfully Czechoslovak journalists as well as foreign journalists.
We had a visit at the lakes from Major Stayskull, who was a commander of the Office of Disinformation, although we didn't know that at the time. He was such a master of mystification that he really persuaded us that our suspicions were wrong. He said, why, if we had these documents, wouldn't we just publish them normally? Why go to all that bother, putting the documents into boxes and planting them at the bottom of a lake? He was really a master of the lie, and he changed our minds. Our investigation has come full circle. We end up where we started, with 4 boxes from the Black Lake.
Apart from the painstaking detail taken by Bittman, the overall success of the operation depended on deceiving the world press. Strogel, then the Interior Minister and until 1988 Prime Minister, was chosen as the person to front a major press conference and lie to TV and journalists from all over the world.
I spent a number of hours with Strogel, advising him what to do, how to react at the press conference, how to react to aggressive questions about the content of the documents and also about the circumstances under which they were discovered. He was kind of afraid that eventually it could be a failure, and that in that case, of course, his reputation and his political standing would suffer. And he said, so if this operation fails, both of you go to prison, I can guarantee you. It was kind of a rehearsal, which, by the way, it's nothing unique. I'm sure that you know that Western politicians do the same thing. They are quite often rehearsed for major press conference. That is something that happens in London and Washington or in any other capital of the world.
We had an opportunity to talk to Interior Minister Strogel before the press conference in the office of our Director General. He thanked us, in his words, for very commendable journalistic work. And then the press conference started. Marvellous. In one word, Strogel was marvellous. Our suspicions began to subside because the world's press, the so-called wolves, asked some very hard questions. Strugel and the other officials from the ministry gave brilliant performances. I would even go so far as to say that it was at the press conference that my suspicions disappeared.
Journalists and reporters, particularly in the United States and Britain, they feel that they are above this kind of games. The fact is that they are just as human and vulnerable as anybody else. And whenever somebody wants to deceive and manipulate public opinion, he or she has to deceive the press, the messenger. And that's why it is so important to educate the new generation of journalists about this international pollution.
These days there are disinformation campaigns at work in Czechoslovakia which cannot be put down to coincidence. There are, as our president says, friends of the old order at work, and they are trying to set us against each other. I think the Black Lake incident teaches us that there were, and I'm afraid still are, various departments of disinformation who make it their job to stir up mud.
Profesionálně kalí vody.